Hello my friends, Sat Nam. This is Natalie Adele tuning in, and in this video we're going to talk about what is Kundalini. Not Kundalini Yoga, but what is the actual Kundalini. And so let's talk about it. So Kundalini, Kundalini, we'll break up the word into two parts. Kunda means coil in Sanskrit. Lini means line or nerve. So if we put the words together, it's a coiled nerve. And it sits in essentially the base of the spine. And a lot of times, because it has this coiled up energy, it's referred to as a serpent or a snake. A lot of times in the Kundalini world, you'll see photos and images of snakes or hear references to snakes or serpents. Because of this coiled, think of a snake when it's dormant. When the Kundalini energy is dormant at the base of your spine, it's coiled up, just like a snake is coiled up when it's resting. And so if we think of the anatomical location of your Kundalini, I want you to take your right hand and place it on your belly button, on your navel. And I want you to take your left hand and place it on your sacrum. So the sacrum is the wide base of the spine. And you might notice that the sacrum sits a little bit lower than the navel. So you've got your right hand on your navel, your left hand on your sacrum. And just close your eyes for a second. And I want you to imagine a line tracing from where your hand is on the navel down through the body into the lower base of the spine, the sacrum. And you'll notice, because the sacrum sits a little lower than the navel, that this diagonal line is sort of sloping down. Keeping your eyes closed, I want you to travel down this line and stop at the halfway mark. The halfway mark between that imaginary line, my friends, is where your Kundalini rests. And it's a real thing. We can't see it, we can't touch it, but we can certainly activate it and feel it. Similarly to the chakras, right? So for those of you with yogic backgrounds, you might be familiar with the 7 chakras in the body. It's all energy. And the energy that sits in this Kundalini coiled up energy is an optical electrical charge, and it resides in the nervous system. So when we work with the Kundalini energy, we're very much working with the subtle body, the nervous system. Okay, so now we know where it is. And we kind of know what it is, right? It's a coiled up ball of energy, essentially. And so what happens is, most of us, unless we have practices that are intentionally awakening this Kundalini, most of us have a dormant energy that sits in the base of the spine. But through Kundalini yoga practices and certain pranayams and breathworks, we can start to activate the Kundalini, which I'll talk about in another video titled What is Kundalini Yoga, and I'll link it below. However, let's think about the journey that this coiled up energy takes once it's activated. So think of it like a snake that's being lured up out of its slumber. And it starts to move like this, like in waves, like vibration and sound move and colors, right? It's all energy. And it starts to move up the body, the back part of the body, through the central spinal channel. So it moves up through the central spinal channel up the spine. And now in Sanskrit, this is called the Shashumna Nadi, the Shashumna Nadi. So it's the big channel, or nadi is like basically a road of energy going up the back body. And again, we activate it through our Kundalini yoga practice. And this Kundalini energy, this optical electrical force, carries with it energy, and carries with it vibration, and carries with it light. It's a very light force. So a great way to think of the Kundalini energy is, think of looking out upon a vast ocean. You're standing on the shore, you're looking out at a vast ocean on a sunny day, and you can see off the water the glittery parts, the shimmery parts, the flickering gold parts of the sun shining off the water. And so that is essentially what Kundalini is that shimmering light. Because your cerebral spinal fluid is saline, it's salt water. It's the same constitution as the ocean. And light is light, whether it's coming from the sun or from your body, which got it from the sun. So when we're starting to move this Kundalini, it starts to move up the spine, and it carries with it light. And it carries with it radiance. And it carries with it vitality. And so it goes up the spine, moving through the chakras, right? Root, sacral, solar, all the way through the heart, once it passes the diaphragm to the throat, all the way up to the crown. And it passes through your gut brain, the space of intuition, and it passes through your heart brain, the space of connection, and it passes through your head brain, the space of intellect and logic, and it gets to the crown of the head. And then here's the really important thing, guys, with Kundalini that not a lot of teachers will talk about, because we hear a lot about Kundalini rising, but everything in nature, follow the Tao, what goes up must come down. It's the circle of life. So it's really important to also know about the anatomy of light in the Kundalini that descends. So once the Kundalini comes up the Shashumna Nadi through the back body, reaches to the crown of the head and peaks, it then travels down the front of the body, past the forehead, third eye, past the throat, until it reaches here. And what lives here? The vagus nerve. So it passes down your two nadis in the nose, which we'll talk about in another video. Ida Nadi is your left side nostril. It's your moon side, the relaxing side. And then Pingala Nadi, which is the right side, which is the sun side, which is the energizing side. Now, that's for another video, but just know that Kundalini rises, it goes down the two nadis to join at this vagus nerve, which sits here in the sternum. It's the largest nerve in your parasympathetic nervous system. It's the largest nerve in the relaxation part of the nervous system. So now it grounds down. This energy then moves down this part of the circuit, the grounding part of the circuit, until it goes back to the tailbone and the base of the spine, only to begin again. Right? So the Kundalini rises up the Shashumna Nadi, and then it falls down the Ida and Pingala Nadis, meeting at the vagus nerve, sending grounding energy through the body to be redistributed again. And this rising and descending and this rising and descending of the Kundalini energy is what we call the microcosmic orbit. So those of you with tantric practices, Taoist practices, Qigong practices, you're probably very familiar with this term, the microcosmic orbit. And so that's essentially, my friends, the anatomy of light. And again, I really want to highlight the Kundalini lies dormant in the base of the spine. Through our yoga practice and pranayama, we activate it through tension, pressure, stress, friction of our practices. It gets activated. It starts rising up the 7 chakras through the gut, heart, and head brain, and then it comes back down to ground you. Because think of everything electric. We need a grounding element or else the fuse will blow. So Kundalini rises, Kundalini falls. Kunda means coil, Lini means light. So that's what the Kundalini is, my friends. Check out my link below to find out more about, okay, how do we activate that with Kundalini Yoga? Thank you so much for joining, and to find out more about this style of yoga, be sure to subscribe to my channel to receive weekly content. Sending you love.